Welcome back to our journey through the Heart Sutra. In our previous lesson, we explored one of the sutra's most surprising statements: no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, or mind. At first glance, these words seem to deny our ordinary experience. After all, we can clearly see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and think. Yet the Heart Sutra is not asking us to reject reality. It is inviting us to look more deeply into how experience actually arises. Today we take the next step by examining another profound statement. No forms, no sounds, no smells, no tastes, no tangible objects, no mental objects, no eye consciousness, and so forth until no mind consciousness. Together, these are known in Buddhism as the 18 realms, or the 18 Dhātus. Understanding them reveals one of the deepest insights into emptiness and transforms the way we relate to ourselves and the world. To appreciate the Heart Sutra's message, we must first understand what these 18 realms are. They are not 18 different places or dimensions. Rather, they are 18 aspects of every moment of experience. Whenever you see a flower, hear a bird sing, taste a cup of tea, or remember a childhood memory, these 18 realms are quietly at work. The Buddha used them to explain how our experience comes into being. Instead of assuming that there is a permanent self experiencing an independent world, Buddhism invites us to see experience as a dynamic process made up of conditions coming together for a brief moment before passing away. The first 6 realms are known as the 6 sense bases. They are the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. In Buddhism, the mind is considered a sense faculty just like the eye or ear. This may seem unusual because many people think of the mind as the owner of the senses, but the Buddha viewed the mind differently. Just as the eye receives colors and shapes, the mind receives thoughts, memories, ideas, emotions, and mental images. It is another doorway through which experience appears. This understanding immediately begins to soften our attachment to the idea of an inner observer controlling everything. The second group consists of the 6 objects corresponding to those sense bases. The eye encounters visible forms, the ear encounters sounds, the nose encounters smells, the tongue encounters tastes, the body encounters tangible sensations such as warmth, pressure, softness, or pain. The mind encounters mental objects including memories, concepts, dreams, intentions, and emotions. Together, these 12 factors create the possibility for experience, but nothing has happened yet. An eye alone does not create seeing, and a visible object alone does not create sight. Both are merely conditions waiting for something more. The final 6 realms are the 6 consciousnesses. When the eye meets a visible form under appropriate conditions, eye consciousness arises. When the ear meets sound, ear consciousness arises. The same pattern applies to smell, taste, touch, and thought. Consciousness is not a permanent observer hidden somewhere inside the body. It is a momentary event that depends upon conditions. When the conditions are present, consciousness appears. When the conditions disappear, consciousness also disappears. Like a flame that depends upon fuel, oxygen, and heat, consciousness depends upon multiple causes. Remove one condition, and the experience cannot occur. Imagine sitting quietly beside a peaceful lake at sunrise. Your eyes receive the golden reflection on the water. Your ears hear birds greeting the morning. A gentle breeze touches your skin. The fragrance of pine trees fills the air. At the same time, pleasant memories arise in your mind. It feels as though one solid person is experiencing one complete world. Yet if we examine carefully, we find countless conditions working together. Light travels from the sun. Your eyes must be functioning properly. Your brain processes signals. Your memories shape your interpretation. Your mood influences what you notice. Even your expectations color the experience. What seemed like one simple moment is actually a vast network of dependent conditions. The Buddha taught these 18 realms not to make life seem complicated, but to free us from illusion. Normally, we believe there is a permanent I behind every experience. We say, I see, I hear, I think, or I feel. Yet when we look carefully, where is this permanent observer? We find eyes, forms, consciousness, thoughts, feelings, memories, and countless changing conditions. but we never find an independent self standing apart from the process. The experience exists, but the owner we imagine cannot be located. This is exactly why the Heart Sutra declares that all 18 realms are empty. Emptiness does not mean that the eyes disappear or that sounds no longer exist. It means they lack independent, permanent existence. Every realm depends upon countless causes and conditions. The eye depends upon genetics, nourishment, health, and time. Visible forms depend upon light, matter, space, and perception. Consciousness depends upon the meeting of sense faculty and object. None exists by itself. None possesses an unchanging essence. They are empty because they arise interdependently. Many people misunderstand emptiness and imagine that Buddhism teaches that nothing exists. This is not the Buddha's teaching. Consider a rainbow after a summer rain. You can clearly see it stretching across the sky. It has color, beauty, and inspires wonder. Yet if you try to grasp it, there is nothing solid to hold. The rainbow depends upon sunlight, moisture, the angle of observation, and the observer's position. Remove any condition, and the rainbow disappears. The rainbow is not an illusion in the sense of being non-existent. It is real as an appearance, yet empty of independent existence. The 18 realms are exactly like this. Another helpful example is listening to music. Imagine hearing a beautiful violin performance. Where exactly is the music? Is it inside the instrument? Inside the strings? Inside the air? Inside your ears? Inside your brain? None of these alone contains the music. The melody appears only because musician, instrument, vibration, air, hearing, attention, memory, and interpretation all come together. Remove any one essential condition, and the experience changes or disappears. Music exists, but not independently. It exists dependently. The same is true of every experience in our lives. This insight transforms the way we understand suffering. Suppose someone speaks harshly to you. Instantly, unpleasant feelings arise. We often believe the suffering comes entirely from the other person's words, but careful observation reveals many conditions. The sound reaches the ears, memories are activated, past experiences influence interpretation, expectations shape emotional reactions, thoughts arise rapidly. The feeling of, "I have been insulted," appears. Every part of this chain depends upon conditions. When we understand this, our suffering begins to loosen because we stop treating every experience as solid and absolute. The Heart Sutra is pointing toward freedom, not philosophy for its own sake. Avalokiteshvara is showing us that liberation comes from seeing the empty nature of experience itself. If the 18 realms are dependently arisen, then they are also fluid, changing, and open. We do not need to cling to pleasant experiences or resist unpleasant ones as though they define us forever. They arise, they remain briefly, then they pass away according to conditions. This understanding brings tremendous peace because we stop demanding permanence from an impermanent world. Modern neuroscience offers an interesting parallel, although it approaches the question from a different perspective. Scientists increasingly understand perception as an active process in which the brain constructs experience from incoming sensory information combined with memory, expectation, and prediction. Buddhism expressed a similar insight more than 2,000 years ago, though its purpose was not scientific explanation but liberation from suffering. The Buddha wanted us to see that experience is conditioned, changing, and not owned by a permanent self. Meditation allows us to verify these teachings directly. Sit quietly and simply observe your experience. A sound appears. It fades away. A thought arises. It disappears. A sensation in the body changes from moment to moment. An emotion swells and gradually dissolves. You begin to notice that awareness is filled with countless arising and passing events. None remains unchanged. None announces itself as a permanent self. The more carefully we observe, the more obvious dependent origination becomes. This is not something to believe, it is something to see for yourself. As this insight deepens, compassion naturally grows. If our own experience depends upon countless causes and conditions, then so does everyone else's. The angry person we meet is not simply an angry person. Their anger arises from habits, fears, upbringing, pain, exhaustion, misunderstanding, and countless unseen conditions. This does not excuse harmful behavior, but it softens hatred. Instead of seeing fixed identities, we begin seeing living processes. Wisdom and compassion grow together because emptiness dissolves the rigid boundaries we create between ourselves and others. The Heart Sutra's statement that there are no 18 realms is therefore not a denial of experience. It is a denial that these realms possess independent, permanent existence. They function perfectly well. We see, hear, think, and feel every day. But none of these experiences exists on its own. Each is like a reflection in a mirror, vivid and functional, yet impossible to separate from the conditions that produce it. Understanding this frees us from clinging without requiring us to reject the ordinary world. This insight also changes the way we approach meditation itself. Many practitioners become attached to peaceful states, profound insights, or moments of bliss. Yet these experiences are also part of the 18 realms. They arise through causes and conditions, and they too are empty. If we cling to them, they become another source of suffering. Instead, the Heart Sutra encourages us to appreciate every experience without grasping it. Freedom lies not in acquiring extraordinary states, but in seeing the empty nature of every state that arises. The great Buddhist masters often compared awakening to waking from a dream. During a dream, every event feels completely real. Joy, fear, success, and failure all seem solid. Upon awakening, we realize that the dream depended upon countless mental conditions. In much the same way, wisdom reveals that our ordinary experience is real as lived experience, yet empty of the independent existence we usually imagine. This realization does not make life meaningless. On the contrary, it makes every moment more precious, because we see its fragile, interconnected beauty. As we conclude this lesson, remember that the Heart Sutra is not trying to persuade us that the world does not exist. It is teaching us that nothing exists independently. The 18 realms function exactly as they always have, but they are empty because they arise together through interdependence. Seeing this is the beginning of profound freedom. When we no longer cling to experiences fixed, permanent, or owned by a separate self, fear gradually weakens, attachment softens, and compassion naturally expands. In our next lesson, we will explore another of the Heart Sutra's most astonishing declarations. There is no ignorance and no ending of ignorance. At first, this seems impossible. If ignorance does not exist, why did the Buddha spend his life teaching? Together we will discover how the Heart Sutra uses this paradox to reveal an even deeper understanding of dependent origination, awakening, and the boundless wisdom of emptiness.